Buddy Bensmiller was born to Alan and Evelyn Bensmiller in Eiley, Alberta on July 16, 1955, but grew up in the nearby community of Dewberry. His father Alan had a lifelong passion for horses and included them in just about everything he did. Alan Bensmiller was a teamster in every sense of the word. He farmed his fields with horses, and in the late 1940s, Alan took his horses from the field to the racetrack and embarked on a career racing chuckwagons. It was this love and admiration of horses that Alan passed down to his youngest son, Buddy, who started his competitive career with horses, riding racehorses at local fairs and picnics at the tender age of 7. In the early 1960s at the Stampede in Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan, Buddy met a French-Canadian kid who, like Buddy, had a real love for horses and had a number of similar interests as himself. That kid's name was George Normand, and the two became best friends and developed an unbreakable bond. In the years to come, the two boys from northeastern Alberta would race chariots against each other as teenagers and would ultimately grow up and become two of the biggest names the sport of chuckwagon racing would ever see. But the legend of Buddy Bensmiller was born on August of 1967 when 12-year-old Buddy outrode for the first time behind his father Alan at the chuckwagon races at the Agricultural Society Fair in St. Walburg, Saskatchewan. Over the next 4 years, Buddy continued to outride on the Northern Circuit, and in 1971, 15-year-old Buddy Bensmiller got his first taste of the big time when chuckwagon driver Dallas Dorchester brought him to the Calgary Stampede to outride for himself and his brother Denny. Buddy had intended to return to the Rangeland Derby in 1972, but his father Alan was hoping he would stay home and outride for him on the Northern Circuit. The only thing that would keep Buddy from going back to Calgary was if Alan gave him a chuckwagon outfit to drive. Buddy's request just happened to coincide with chariot racer Herman Flad, who had recently dropped a truckload of thoroughbreds off at the Bensmiller Ranch for Alan to school into driving horses. So after discussing with Herman Flad, the elder Bensmiller was able to set his youngest son up with a chuckwagon outfit, and in 1972, 16-year-old Buddy Bensmiller made his debut as a chuckwagon driver in the locality of Greenlawn, just outside his hometown of Dewberry, Alberta, with an outfit consisting of horses owned entirely by Herman Flad. The next few years saw Buddy develop and thrive as both a chuckwagon driver and outrider, winning several small shows throughout northeastern Alberta and northwestern Saskatchewan. On May 7, 1977, Buddy married Darlene Smith, daughter of chuckwagon driver Alan Smith, and over the next 35 years, the couple and their 4 children would embark on an incredible journey. In 1979, the Northern Chuckwagon Racing Association was invited to compete at the Rangeland Derby, and it marked Buddy's return to Calgary for the first time since outriding for Dallas Dorchester back in 1971. It was an up-and-down week for Buddy, who after an unfortunate incident midweek forced him to borrow a lead team from his father, finished on a high note when he outran his father Alan, his father-in-law Alan Smith, and Herman Flad, the man whose horses Buddy drove in his rookie season, to capture the 1979 Calgary Stampede Rangeland Derby Championship 1 day before his 24th birthday, becoming one of the youngest champions of all time. It was the first major victory of Buddy Bensmiller's career. As he crossed over into the 1980s, Buddy Bensmiller's resume just continued to grow. He won his first outriding buckle at the Calgary Stampede in 1981 as part of Bruce Craig's championship outfit, and in 1982 he won his first of 3 consecutive Cheyenne Frontier Days championships. In 1982, Buddy took out a permit with the World Professional Chuckwagon Association, and at season's end, Buddy would win his first of 6 consecutive Northern Professional Chuckwagon Association championships. Buddy capped off the midpoint of the 1980s when he won his first show on the WPCA Tour as a permit holder at the North American Chuckwagon Championship in High River in 1985. But tragedy struck in 1986 when his good friend Randy Evans, who had been a part of many of Buddy's victories as one of his outriders, succumbed to injuries he sustained in a racing accident at the Cheyenne Frontier Days. It was a devastating blow, but as champions generally do, Buddy came back the next year and won the Cheyenne Frontier Days Championship for a record-tying 4th time. Buddy closed out the 1980s in fine style when in 1989 he qualified for the Calgary Stampede's championship final for the 3rd time and held off his childhood buddy George Normand by just 8/100ths of a second to celebrate his 34th birthday by winning the Rangeland Derby Championship for the 2nd time. Less than 2 weeks later, Buddy made history when he won his 5th career Cheyenne Frontier Days Championship, breaking the record of 4 that he shared with Bobby Cosgrave, and joining Dale Flett and Bobby Cosgrave as the only Chuckwagon drivers to capture the Calgary and Cheyenne titles in a single year. Success on the racetrack continued to follow Buddy Bensmiller into the 1990s. In 1991 and 1992, he won the Northern Professional Chuckwagon Association Championship for the final times, and between 1991 and 1995, he won the Cheyenne Frontier Days 4 times in 5 years. But 1994 would deliver to Buddy Bensmiller another overwhelming emotional punch when just 1 week before the Rangeland Derby, a racing accident at the Ponoka Stampede claimed the life of Buddy's lifelong and best friend George Normand. He was just 38 years old. But Buddy's strength and resilience was unequivocal at the 1994 Calgary Stampede. Driving his own outfit, as well as that of his fallen friend George Normand, Buddy not only qualified for the Rangeland Derby's championship final heat for the 4th time, but won his first Richard Cosgrave Memorial Trophy, symbolic of the Calgary Stampede aggregate winner, and received the Calgary Stampede's prestigious Guy Wiedeck Award. But the celebration was short-lived, as that October, Buddy found himself mourning the passing of his mentor and father, Alan Bensmiller, at the age of 75. The following year, in 1995, Buddy won his 2nd consecutive Richard Cosgrave Memorial Trophy, won his 9th and final Cheyenne Frontier Days Championship, and competed in his last season as a member of the Canadian Professional Chuckwagon Association. After 24 years as a driver with the now Canadian Professional Chuckwagon Association, Buddy made the full-time move to the World Professional Chuckwagon Association in 1996 and promptly won one of the biggest shows on the schedule at the Klondike Chuckwagon Derby in Edmonton. Buddy opened up the 1997 season with a victory at the Grand Prairie Stampede, won his 3rd Richard Cosgrave Memorial Trophy in 4 years mid-season at the Calgary Stampede, and by season's end, Buddy had captured the World Chuckwagon Championship for the first time in his illustrious career. As he entered the new millennium, Buddy Bensmiller showed no signs of slowing down. He was honored with the WPCA's Chuckwagon Person of the Year Award in 2000, and in 2001 he won his first Ponoka Stampede with sons David and Kurt sharing in their father's victory as outriders, en route to Buddy capturing his 2nd career World Chuckwagon Championship. Later that winter, Buddy became the first Chuckwagon driver to tour his wagon around the Thomas & Mack in Las Vegas, Nevada as part of the National Finals Rodeo. But in 2002, a ranch accident sidelined Buddy mid-season with a broken hand that required surgery, and in October, Buddy was involved in a serious traffic accident that saw him suffer a blown knee and a shattered hip and pelvis. The injuries suffered in 2002 put Buddy's 2003 season in doubt. But overcoming obstacles had become a theme of Buddy Bensmiller's career. In a demonstration of guts and determination, Buddy posted victories at the Rocky Mountain Turf Club Derby in Lethbridge, the Ponoka Stampede for the 2nd time, and for the 3rd time he captured the Calgary Stampede Rangeland Derby. The victory at Calgary would ultimately be Buddy's last as a Chuckwagon driver, but for the 2nd time in his career, 2 of his sons, this time David and Chance, would share in their father's victory as outriders. Although Buddy's sons had all outrode and won shows with their father, one of Buddy's proudest moments came at the 2004 Calgary Stampede when for the first time all 3 boys, David, Kurt, and Chance, and along with Buddy's longtime outrider Dale Gray, were able to outride for their father in the same race. Buddy would continue to compete full-time for another 7 years and made his 9th and final trip to the Calgary Stampede's championship final heat in 2005 and retired at the end of the 2011 season. In 2011, Buddy was honored with the WPCA's distinguished George Normand Lifetime Builder Award, and he ran his final race at the Calgary Stampede's centennial celebration in 2012. Through all of the triumphs and all of the tragedies, Buddy's wife Darlene has been a pillar of strength and support for Buddy along the way, and the Bensmiller Chuckwagon legacy continues to thrive through their children, Lisa, David, Kurt, and Chance, and all the grandchildren who are actively involved as competitors and race officials. The resume that Buddy Bensmiller compiled over his 46-year career is nothing short of phenomenal. 2-time world champion, a record 8-time Northern Professional Chuckwagon Association champion, 3-time Calgary Stampede Rangeland Derby champion, a record 9-time Cheyenne Frontier Days champion, 2-time Ponoka Stampede champion, 3-time Calgary Stampede aggregate winner, and a plethora of other major awards and victories too numerous to mention. Through it all, Buddy Bensmiller has been the epitome of character and class. In 2009, he was inducted into the Cheyenne Frontier Days Hall of Fame. 2018 saw him inducted into the Calgary Stampede's Pioneers of Rodeo. And tonight, we are honored to pay special tribute to one of the most outstanding chuckwagon men of all time, the legend himself, Buddy Bensmiller.